Hey guys, so today is Friday, February 6th. I always forget my days. It is Friday, February 6th, and tomorrow is market day. That's right. This will be my first market of 2026, so I'm really excited for that. And it is going to be one in the city of Maricopa. It's hosted by an organization called Messiah's Playhouse Gives Back, which is a nonprofit organization that benefits the city of Maricopa. And this particular organizer, I don't know if you can hear my garage door closing. Mr. Quackhouse is gonna go run and get us change for tomorrow. But yeah, this particular organizer we worked with several times. These markets generally go pretty good for us, but every once in a while we have a flop. Although this is what's really kind of exciting, because I just kind of stopped to think about it, was we are officially at 1 year of doing markets as Quackhouse Crochet. Isn't that cool? So the very first market I ever did was in the first week of February last year, and I remember specifically signing up for it because it was like a pre-Valentine's Day market. And I had a ball. I was so nervous to, you know what I mean, to do this my very first time. I think if I can find pictures, I will pop them up here of what my first market setup ever looked like, if I can find it. I do remember the very first thing I ever sold was an elephant, which is really cool. I mean, in terms of like when I was doing markets and stuff, the very first thing I ever sold was an elephant. And I did take a picture of that sale with the person who bought it. He was just phenomenal. He was such a lovely guy. And so, like I said, if I have all of that, I'll pop it up here. But yeah, it's officially been a year since Quackhouse Crochet has been in the market scene. So even though this is not the same market that I was at last year, because that market actually is no longer, it was a weekly running market in the town over for us, and it is no longer a thing. It is kind of cool to not only be going back to essentially do a market in kind of a very similar time frame to my very first market, but also because in 2 weeks we will be having another market in the city of Maricopa, and that was the second market I ever did. It was also the biggest market, or like the most profit, I guess. So yeah, the biggest market I ever did. So the very first market I ever did, I profited about $300. And then the second market, so I started, just to like give you a little bit of backstory, I did this little market and I sold $300 worth of, well, I profited $300, about $350 after selling plushies and stuff. And I just remember being on cloud 9, and this was like my really like early stuff, you know what I mean? So I would definitely say like the quality has improved. But I remember selling $350 worth of, or selling enough stuff to make $350-ish of profit, and just being so proud of myself and being so ecstatic with it. And the lovely lady who was next to me actually was like, hey, you've got really good stuff. There's this other market and it's over in the city of Maricopa, and I'm going to be a vendor there. This is how you can go and be a vendor. And she turned me on to what is called the Maricopa Cultural Night Market, or the Copa Cultural Night Market. And so in 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll actually be going back to that one as well. So not to say that I'm expecting like the $1,300 that I made the first time around, but it was really exciting, like as a very first time market vendor, to go from a market where I made $300 to then go to a market where I made $1,300. You know what I mean? That was super exciting. So just kind of wanted to preface that, or like include that in this blog, I guess you could say. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited to be going and doing that. So I don't have a whole lot of inventory. If I'm being completely honest with you, I have not done a thorough job of checking what inventory I have left, and you know what I mean, like replenishing some of the best sellers. But that's okay, because I have made a few bigger things, like my anchor, right? Some of the things I've been wanting to make that I've been sharing with you guys since I've been back on YouTube. But this past week, so today is Friday, so since like Sunday, Monday kind of deal, I've really been trying to focus on like here and there making some mini makes. You guys have kind of seen now what a life, or like what a day in my life looks like, and how it's really hard for me at least to go from like my 9 to 5 into the 5 to 9 grind, plus having a small child. So that's why this list, or what I'm about to show you, may not seem as impressive, but I'm really proud of what I was able to get done, and hopefully I can get a few more things done tonight. And just to give you an idea, today has already been a long, grueling day. I was up at 1 o'clock and I was at work by 2 o'clock this morning. And it is now roughly about 4:30 p.m. Maybe it's even almost, I think it's actually almost 5, because the other thing I'm going to be doing tonight, in addition to market prepping, is I'm going to be going over to Palm Street and watching the Palm Street Live by Happiness Handmade. I believe it is her first Palm Street Live of 2026, so I'm super happy to go over there and to support her. And that's going to be what I'm watching as I market prep. But I did want to show you guys kind of the few makes that I got done this week for market. So I really wanted to focus on just little things as I pull up that big box. So let me show you. I'm completely out of frame. So one of the things I made was these little chicks in hats. This is a free pattern on Instagram, and these are actually the ones. Let me get his little claw or lobster claw out of the way. So these are actually the ones that come with a frog hat in the pattern. I do not do the frog hat. I do sometimes, but for this time around, I didn't do the frog hat. I focused on fruit hats. So last year when I made these, I made them with a strawberry hat, a kiwi hat, watermelon hat, and the frog hat. I think those were all of them I made. The fruit hats basically almost sold immediately, but I'm definitely sold out of them. And this time what I did was I went with just a simple watermelon hat, a strawberry hat. Very, very simple. Like, as you can tell, there's not even like a leaf, a stem and a leaf on the top. I just kind of embroidered leafy details, and I think it's cute. And then I also have some watermelon ducks. So I have 3 strawberry ducks and 3 watermelon ducks. Now, last year I sold these for $8, but I made them out of parfait chunky, and I included them on these little claw clips. These are actually made, this yellow is Premier Basics Brights. This pink is Burnout Blanket, and then the little detailings, I've also, like the reed is Burnout Blanket, and I think this yellow is just like parfait chunky because it's just detailing. The orange is Burnout Blanket. But so they're a little bit bigger than they were last year, and because I did really stop and think about, like, you know, doing the details and doing the color changes and stuff, I'm going to go ahead and charge $10 for these, because they're, like I said, they're a little bit bigger than what I was making them in with parfait chunky last year, and they're a nice squishable size. I'm a firm stuffer, so they're a nice squishable size, and they come with the hardware. So these are going to go for $10, and I have 6 of them. 3 strawberries, 3 watermelons, free pattern on Instagram. And I'll link all of the patterns that I use and reference down below. My ducks are flying, or my chicks are flying. The other little item that I made, which I'm going to also kind of sell as a backpack buddy, are these guys right here. They're so chunky. They're so chunky, and I love them. So I make these sitting bees. This, again, also a free pattern on Instagram. I make these little chunky bees, and usually I make them in a size 7 jumbo yarn, Premier Parfait XL, and I don't even remember what size hook I use. Maybe an 8 or 9 millimeter hook. And they turn out a big size in that chunky yarn, and they're so cute. And I think I made like 5 of those last year, and I do not just the yellow and black, I also do like a yellow and a brown, like a caramel brown. and those sewed really well for me. This is a really simple pattern. I do have jumbo yarn to make these in the larger size, but I wanted to focus specifically for this market on replenishing some of my littler makes, my smaller makes. So this is what I went with. I'm going to put this guy on the little keychain, and he's a little backpack buddy as well. He's also going to go for $10. Again, nice little size. This is just parfait chunky in, I think it's sunshine, and I think this is actually espresso, so it's got like black and brown vibes, and I like these guys a lot better than the little bullet bees. Plus, I also selfishly did not want to make bullet bees because I'm going to be making a few of those for Ducky for school as her Valentine's gifts. But yeah, so I make these little guys. The only thing you have to sew on is the wings, and I'm pretty sure you could figure out a way to not sew wings on, but I sew the wings on because I like the nice round wings. And yeah, he's just so cute. And so I'm going to sell these little guys for $10, and I made 4 of them. So 4 of these guys, 6 of the chicks and hats. That's 10 makes so far this week. Small, but they are 10. All right. And I wanted to make, you know, items that I knew were going to be quick, but that were also going to be like a nice little size for the markets. And as I was doing this market prep yesterday, I was watching the latest video from Karen over at Yarn and Whimsy, and she showed this pattern right here. This is Asia the elephant from the Cozy Buckeye, from April over at the Cozy Buckeye. So fun fact about me, before my child came into my life, elephants were my favorite animal. Now, of course, it has to be ducks, but elephants were the fave. So I made one Asia the elephant. I love his little tail, or her little tail. I do want to, I think, not tack the trunk up because it is doing a really good job of like going upwards without any tacking, but maybe just do something where I lift it a little bit so that it stays just a tiny bit more upright. And I think April did include instructions for that in the pattern, but I was making Asia kind of late last night, and I knew I had to be up for work very, very early this morning, so I may have missed those instructions. But this was a really quick make. It was really easy to make. All no sew. You surface crochet these ears on, and the way she does it is genius. And I just thought, you know what? April has so many of these market make animals, so I'm just going to buy a few of the patterns. I may not be able to make them all, but let me just, you know, throw a couple in my cart. Because fun fact, if you didn't know, I believe if you go to her shop over on Etsy and you throw 3 of her patterns into your basket, into your cart, you get a bit of a discount on them. So I got Asia the elephant, I got Chappie the capybara, and I got one more, and I cannot for the life of me remember the last one I got, but I will link them all. Oh, I think it was the cow. I'm pretty sure I got Cash the Market cow. And I had previously tested her market pig as well. So if I could make one of each, I would be happy. But realistically, I'm thinking I have this one and I'm very, very happy with it. But I'm thinking I may make just one more, possibly 2 more. And I've got some fun yarns that I want to use to try and get 1 or 2 more of these Asia the elephants, because they're just so cute and so chunky. And this turns out to be a really, really nice size. So I think I'm probably going to go with $18 for this. Yeah, about 18 bucks for this. So that's 6 plus 4 is 10 plus 1 is 11. The last thing I have, which I actually have on my hook right now, it is not complete, but we are close. We are very, very close. Let's see if you can recognize what it is as I take it out of my whip bag. It is not all done. This is as far as I've gotten. This is going to be eventually a I think it's Nova the Night Fury snuggler. This is actually already spoken for. So I had a vendor friend reach out, and I had made this over the Christmas season, and she wanted to buy Nova the Nova the Night Fury snuggler. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I ended up not seeing her for a few weeks, and then I had an opportunity to sell the one that I had on hand, knowing that I still had, you know, all the yarn I needed, all the eyes I needed. I was like, let me go ahead and sell this one, and then I'll make her a fresh one, you know, make sure it's fresh off of the hook for her. So that is what I am doing. I was able to get most of the entire body is done, with the exception of the wings and the black and red tail frills, gills, spikes. That's all done. The 6 spikes, the 4 little spikes, and the 2 large spikes that you need to make for the head, those are all done. I've got the yarn in here. I have got the eyes in here. Whenever I make these Fury Dragons, I always use these beautiful green eyes that I get from Christine over at What's Up Cupcake Crafts. They are called Wicked, and they are in the 25mm size, which pairs really, really well to give your Night Fury big, beautiful eyes when you're working with Parfait Chunky, and I use a 5mm hook. These are Christine's gorgeous hand-painted Wicked eyes, which I will be using for this Night Fury. So that's essentially what I'm going to do now. I'm going to finish the Night Fury, get him all assembled, make at least one more Asia the Market elephant. I'm thinking, oh, there's one of the little spikes. I'm definitely thinking I want to make it out of this yarn, because I like how there's the pops of pink, but there's also gray, so it stays true, right, to the essence of the elephant. And then if I have time, I may make one in this fun blue yarn. I'm trying to use up some of my yarn here. So I am going to take a pause for the cause, at least in terms of filming, let my camera charge up. My phone charge up a little bit. Let's be real. Mr. Quackhouse, like I said, he ran to go get some change for us for tomorrow. Tonight will be a night of tagging the few things that I have made downstairs that have not been tagged, probably consolidating some inventory, and then tagging, did I already say that? Tagging the new things I made. It'll be a night of tagging, since most of these things are already entered into my inventory. And I'm gonna go watch Lisa from Happiness Handmade over at Palm Street, on her Palm Street Live. And then I'll probably check in with you guys a little bit later tonight to let you know what progress I've made and how far I've gotten. And then I probably, even though the market tomorrow is not until the evening time, so it's not until, I think it's got a 5 p.m. start time, and we don't have to be there until 2. Even though I technically could pull an all-nighter, and I do have a pot of coffee brewing downstairs, I probably am not going to do that, because I've been awake since 1 this morning, but also we have got to run before market tomorrow and get our oil changed, and I don't want to have all of our market inventory in the car when that happens. So we'll go get our oil changed, bring the cars back and load them up, and then head over to Maricopa. That's about a 40-minute drive for us, and then we'll see whether or not we have Ducky tomorrow. Usually when we have these later night markets, my mom will take her, but we have not made arrangements for that to happen this time, so we'll see if we have her tomorrow. My mom may reach out at the last minute and say, hey, bring my girl over. If not, then we will have Ducky. And I don't know if y'all who do markets have young children and bring them with you. Let me tell you though, you put them to work, you tell them you can get your face painted after you've sold an item. Sold out. That's not really what happens, but Ducky's kind of aggressive. Like, she's an aggressive salesperson. Like, we've actually had it before where we had somebody like roll up to the booth, and she was like, oh, you see this? You like it? Let me get you a bag. Walks and gets them a bag, and then you're kind of standing there like, I am so sorry. She's a very aggressive salesperson. Do you want to buy it though? So, holy cow, I've already been rambling on for 20 minutes. Sorry, let me go. Let me get stuff done. And then I will check in with you later tonight to show you what progress I've made. It may only be a Night Fury head and one more elephant, and that would be okay. And tagging. The tagging. I'm gonna stop talking. See you. Hey friends, it's market day. So it is Saturday, and I want to say it's about 9 a.m. We have to be at the market location at 2:30 to set up. And it's about 40 minutes away from us. I did and didn't get much done. You know how that is last night. So I tuned in to the Palm Street Live with Lisa from Handmade, Casey. That was so much fun. We did dinner, and then I actually did a lot of tagging. I also forgot that I had made 5 of the little mushy pop keychains, so that was exciting, is that I found a little bit more inventory in addition to what I showed you last night. Got all of my new makes tagged, got everything entered into inventory that was not entered into inventory, did dinner with my family, and then my intention was to put Ducky down to sleep and then get up and do some other stuff. Didn't happen. Like I said, I was awake at 1 a.m. yesterday morning, and so by the time I laid down with her at around 9:30, I was out for the count. I think I woke up around 11:30 and was like, should I get up and do stuff? And I was like, no, I'm exhausted. Took my contacts out because yes, I did fall asleep with them in, and then just went back to sleep. I did get a little bit done though, so like, here, let me show you. This is the progress on Toothless. I love these little wings. And this is a pattern by KP Creations, I believe, the little Nova snuggler, Night Fury snuggler. So this is the progress I made on Toothless. All I have left to do is make one wing and then sew both of the wings on, and then, oh no, and then the head horns, like the little 3 horns that go on each side here. I knew his face looked a little weird. And then that is officially done. I want to try and make one more Asia the Market elephant and then see where I'm at there in terms of time. And then from there, I'll decide if I want to make anything else or not. Editing, Anna will put here what I got accomplished. And then the next time I see you guys will probably be on market grounds to do a little market setup, or it may be tomorrow and I'll just tell you how I did. Not exactly sure. We'll see like how busy we get. Mr. Quackhouse has been a gem because he is going to be the one who's loading up the cars. I also get to test out the new grid walls that he purchased for me for Christmas, so I'm excited about that. My parents are actually coming to the market today, and while my mom has come and seen my markets and my market setups before, my dad has never come and seen them. So they're actually going to come and get Ducky from the market, but they wanted to walk around as well, so it'll be kind of cool, so my dad can see like what the booth looks like and everything. Other than that, like I said, just trying to finish up some of these makes. I had some ends on anchor that needed to be re-sewn in, so I'm going to make sure I get that done, and then we'll see if I get anything else accomplished, and I will see you at the market. Hi, lovely friends. So it is now 10:43 p.m. on Sunday night. I feel like the day after market day is always so crazy, but I also feel lately like I've been coming to you at the craziest hours. So I was just thinking about this when I very first started like getting into crochet and things. One of the very first accounts, I think maybe even the very first account I ever started watching, or the first like YouTuber I ever started watching, was Larissa over at Refined Vibes. And or Laddie, I think her name is Larissa. Like I hope I'm saying that right, but Laddie over at Refined Vibes. um and she used to say, like, as she was getting ready to like market prep and do things, that she was working crackhead hours, and this is the quack house. So I feel like I've always been coming to you during quackhead hours. How about that? I'm always coming to you so late at night. But it is Sunday night. We have another long week ahead of us. And I wanted to come back and just give you kind of a recap of the market and how everything went. One of my biggest regrets, like only having my phone to use as like my filming instrument, because it's also my POS, is that I'm not able to get any of like the customer interactions and things like that filmed for you, or even just like the process of what market looks like. Well, I guess I could do that, but like I always forget to do it while I'm there. And the reason I bring that up is because this market, every time we go to the city of Maricopa, it's always such a lovely experience, just because that is such a beautiful community. And so I feel like when we participate in markets for this organizer specifically, we always come away very rich in terms of interactions and experiences, even if we don't do the best monetarily. I was talking with or chatting with Amanda over at Cobweb and Rose, and I was just kind of telling her, because it was really nice. Like, she has recently moved to Arizona, and so she's like, I'm gonna come out and visit you, and then plans changed at the last minute. And I told her, I was like, I'm kind of glad you didn't come to this one and that you coming to the next one, because let me just differentiate here. When we go to Maricopa and the events that we are at are hosted by the city, like the actual city of Maricopa, we always make a killing. When we work with this organizer in that city, it's always kind of hit or miss. I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I know some people are here for like the recap, so I'll get into the numbers right now, and then I'll break down some of like my thoughts and stuff afterwards. So let's talk about sales, shall we? Let's talk about numbers. Okay, so my booth fee for this event was $40. That is pretty typical of just events in that city, really, like it, or events in this area, markets in this area. Unless it's something like super special, you're usually going to pay about $40 or $50 for a market fee. And that's because these are not like huge special events. They're just kind of like, I guess this is what you would call a pop-up. So $40 for the vendor fee. I went from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And yeah, and then in terms of like sales, in Square, I collected a total of $191.13. In Venmo, it's actually the first time in a long time that I've gotten a sale on Venmo. I had a total of $15, and then in cash, I had a total of $48, for a grand total in terms of gross sales of $254.13. Now, my Square fees were $6.32, and my vendor fee for the event, like I said, was $40. So we're not also going to subtract the amazing Filipino food we bought there, but so that gave us a grand take-home total of $207.81. Now, when I was talking to Amanda and Lisa from Happiness Handmade, because she was such a sweetheart, she reached out and she was like, how was your market? How did it go? I told them both kind of the same thing. I was like, the market itself, like the interactions, the people there are always amazing. As I'm going into 2026 now and I'm trying to just create less stress for myself, I don't honestly know that I will participate in a market where I work with this organizer again. We've just, and I'm not even talking about the market, I'm just talking about in terms of working with this particular person. We don't have the best experiences, and it seems like that is kind of consistent. Like, it seems like other vendors have kind of shared the same thing, that they don't have the most positive experiences with this particular organizer. Don't want to get into the tea, don't want to get into the drama, because there could be other people there who are just like, no, this is the best organizer. Also, I think I did mention earlier that these proceeds benefit a nonprofit, and so I do not want to do anything to dissuade people from participating in events that will support them, because it is for a great cause. And like I said, the community itself, that community in Maricopa, is wonderful. They always show so much love, and $200 is not bad. Like I said, if we're talking about comparing this apples to apples to the first market I ever did, it's only about $150 off, right? But the experiences that we have and the interactions that we have, they're so wonderful. Like, if you wanted me to break down like top sellers, best sellers, there really weren't any. In terms of like quantity of things sold, I think the top seller was my little mini stingrays. Those are from Teresa's Crochet Shop. I sell those for $8, and I had 4 and I sold 4. And I think the next thing that sold was the All From Jade, the swinging animals, particularly the mallards. Those were the top sellers yesterday, and the axolotls. Sorry, those always get a lot of attention as well. I also brought a mega stingray from Teresa's Crochet Shop, and I shoved some little fish in there. Like, that was his like a little snack. And so that was really fun, because like as people came into the booth, I was able to tell them, as you know, they picked up the stingray and they were so excited, and I was like, check his mouth out, check what's in his mouth. And so that was really fun, especially like with the kids who came in and they checked out his mouth, and they just got like really excited to see that there was something in there. So that was really fun and exciting. Got to talk to some vendor friends. Like, is it the vendor friend who ordered to this? I'm sorry, I'm like itching all over the place. Something has been going on with my family. I don't know, between like Ducky had a rash the other day. Sam, my husband, has very sensitive skin, and so he's been kind of in the itchies lately, and I don't know if this is just sympathy pains, but I'm also getting the itches, so excuse me if I'm scratching up a storm here. But anyway, we were talking with them, and so they were kind of sharing some of the markets they did last year that were really good, that we should probably look out for this year. And it's really nice to just connect with them, because we talked to them about what markets they're doing and what markets we're doing and what worked for them and what worked for us. And they're just really nice people. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, we don't get to interact very often, but when we do, it's always a good time. And then of course our favorite free tray candy people were there, so yeah, that was fun. That's always fun to see them. Anchor got a lot of attention. He was very well received at market, and it's really just nice to have people, like I said, come through and just be excited about the things that you have made, that you've kind of been hoarding like a little yarn goblin in your room, and then seeing other people get excited for things. The other nice thing was that we ended up seeing another vendor couple that we have grown to just really enjoy and love in the time that we've been doing markets throughout last year. They recently opened up a storefront in the town over from us, where they are selling this. So they make the coolest like sweatshirts, t-shirts, custom hats. They're the ones who made our Quack House shirts and our Quack House hats. We do have Quack House hats. So they are the ones who made all of our like gear, and they recently opened up a storefront, and so they were talking to us about like, hey, you know, we're hosting markets there, and I told them, I was like, yes, we will be there. But in addition to that, they are also hosting where like you can bring your products and sell them, and they sell them for you, just like you know, a couple of other people. Like I think Jenny over at In My Spare Time Crochet does something like that. I know Morgan at Alley Crochet does something like that. So does Lisa over at Happiness Handmade. Casey, there's quite a few YouTubers that do that. And so it's, I guess it's kind of like a consignment, but this is, it's brand new. And so they shared like the tiers of membership, for lack of a better term, with us yesterday. So that is something I'm seriously considering. So if we end up going that route of selling things in store, that'll be a whole nother series, right? Like ironing out the details, figuring out what inventory is going to go into the store, and then making and stocking all of that stuff. But so, you know, they came to us and they were talking to us, so that was really exciting. We had another guy approach us, and apparently they're doing some kind of like mini Comic-Con in the town over from us. And so he was like, I really love your stuff. I think you'd be perfect there. We don't have another crochet artist there. You know, which is always a good thing if you are trying to make sales, to be the only person who does a specific thing. And so I was, you know, kind of showing him the stuff that we've done in terms of like Pokemon and more character geared stuff, like the K-pop dolls that we've done. And he's like, man, that stuff would be perfect there. He's like, bring your other stuff too, though. So we'll see what it looks like in terms of what we do for markets this year, but I think that's going to kind of be the plan, especially if we decide to go with the in-store marketplace. Maybe doing fewer markets but better quality markets, like really trying to scout out and diversify the markets that we do, maybe go a little bit further from home, but making sure that there's going to be, you know what I mean, a payout for that experience there. So yeah, more to come on that, and we're going to bring you all along on the ride with us. So yeah, I'm sorry the market recap wasn't as exciting because I mean, we sold a good amount of stuff, but just like nothing really exciting per se. Oh, I will say one thing that did happen that was kind of cool was so we have a rule where it's like, just because everybody's breaking down, we're not going to break down. We always kind of take our time. Number one, because everyone's going to try and leave at the same time. And so we just don't want to get caught up in the traffic. So we always slowly break down, and usually that pays off for us. It did in this case. So we had a dad come by with his two kids, and his son particularly was talking about how he loves ducks. I mean, we're the Quack House. We love ducks too. So I had one small rubber duck, and then I have a larger one. And I can't talk too much about that particular one, and I'll tell you about it in the future, why not, but I do have it for sale. This large rubber duck, and I have $60 on him. However, he ended up falling down. And he had a dirty beak. So dad came to us and said, hey, are your prices negotiable? I was like, no, we could strike up a deal, right? What are you thinking? And so the big duck, like I said, I had it marked for $60, and then, you know, the teeny tiny regular ducks that I have, I sell those for $12. He's like, would you do both of these for $50? And honestly, it was the last rubber duck I had. That big duck was dirty, but we did talk about like, this is how you can get it cleaned up and stuff, and I had no problem doing that. And so we made a $50 sale right at the close of the market. So that helped to boost the numbers I just shared with you today. So, you know, things like that happened, and those were really cool. So I am looking, I think I will remake that big rubber duck. Like I said, when I can share more information with you about that, I will. but I'm not able to right now. And then it does give me an opportunity to also think about what I want to do in terms of replenishing the rubber ducks, right? Or what kind of ducks I did. There are also some things that I'm really glad kind of sold. Like I make the little pocket triceratops from Club Crochet. I had a couple of snakes that were like the, you know, hanging on by a thread, in terms of like they've been at so many markets and just never sold. And it was kind of nice to clear out that inventory, because I forgot who I was talking to, but it's always that struggle of, you want to bring as much as you possibly can so that you have something for everyone, but you also kind of like, I also love looking at people like Sammy, where her booths are like, she has multiples of very specific things and just a few of like the diversified standout like kind of showstoppers. And I'm like, man, that is just so satisfying aesthetically. It is so pleasing to see, like, you know, a bunch of the Fable series or a bunch of drift octopuses or whatever it is, right? And I think that does also help with like ease of setup, because you have all of these things, you just group them all together. Whereas with me, I'm like, I have this one random little Pokemon, I have this one random shark, I have these two random little whales. Like, where do I put them all so that it makes some kind of cohesive sense? But I was also recently watching, I think her name is Ashley over at Growing Crochet, like her most recent video, and she was talking about just taking some of those items that she has and, for lack of a better term, putting them in kind of like these misfit toy bins, where it's like, okay, these things are now just all $8 or all $10 or all $15, and whatever is in this basket is just that one price point. So I think that is actually something I'm going to do, and still make the fun things that I enjoy making, but also just kind of trying to streamline things a little bit. We'll see how that goes for me this year. For all you know, I could still just have one-offs of everything, and that's why I will never have bestsellers. But I've done it again. It is 17 minutes, and so I realized I also didn't have a proper introduction to this video. My name is Anna. I am the maker and creator behind Quack House Crochet. 45 minutes into this video. If you liked all of this chaos, and if you liked what you saw, if you want more market recaps, I have another market in 2 weeks, and I'm hoping for good things, because last year that was my biggest market of the year. So I'm hoping that we do good things there. But if you like all of these shenanigans, make sure you consider subscribing to my channel. And we can spend more quackhead hours together. I'll see you guys again next week with another video, probably more market prep, probably more getting things ready. I've also don't know, you know how you apply for a million pattern tests thinking you'll not get into any, and then sometimes you get into most of them, and then you're like, ooh, that happened. That's kind of my week this week, on top of market prepping, so I'll have all of that for you next week. I'm sorry this is so like all over the place towards the end, but it's 11:02 p.m. and I have work tomorrow. I'll see you guys again next week. Bye.